All right. And we're live on YouTube as well. What's going on, everybody? It is Wednesday, March 18th, day after my birthday. Thank you for everyone who gave me some birthday wishes. And the title of this live stream is going to be Whatever You Do, Don't Be Bored. And so I'm going to quote it's basically a quote from Waking Life, a movie that I really enjoyed in college. But the whole movie, if you've never seen it, I really, really recommend seeing Waking Life. It is, the seller says that don't be coughing. Agreed. That's hilarious that you noticed that. But we've actually had like sniffles and a cough for a while now. And so that definitely, that definitely sucks. But the more, see, and drinking coffee doesn't help because there's just kind of phlegminess in your throat and you kind of cough. But so we've had this like, I'm going to call it a cold for a while now. And so I don't think it's what all this crap is, this coronavirus crap, because I feel like it would have, what do you call it? It should have turned into something else, right? So Turner's had a cough because he goes to preschool for a while and he's never had a fever and he's had this kind of cough for a while. So I really don't think that that is what it is. Favorite player, JWP just said favorite player. So we're going to appease the Instagram audience for a second, would be Mike Powell. He is definitely by far my favorite player of all time. And I love that he's doing music now. I think that it's a very cool thing. And that's kind of going to be what we decide to go through this live stream about. But so, first, I just want to acknowledge some people who I'm going to kind of talk about throughout. I'm not going to, so I'm just going to do my usual kind of pitches, whatnot. But so the first people I really want to pitch are all of the patrons, right? So, it is unbelievable to me. So right now, POWLAX has 476 patrons on Patreon, and all stemming from, for the majority, I feel that they're all people who are very much so supporters of the mission I have of creating good content that is available for free. So one of the things that we'll get into a little later is a bit of a feeling of like inadequacy about what I can offer during this time, because all my stuff takes forever. Like I'm doing the wall ball thing and we'll get into that too. But for the people who acknowledge the time it takes to create the videos that I do and are there to support the creation of it through time, I'm very, very grateful for it. Because in times like this, like that's my lifeblood, right? Like it's the lifeblood for my family. So I'm very grateful for everyone who's been supporting for $5 a month and realize that you're not alone either. You know, it's kind of amazing to me that 476 people support POWLAX through online. So I'm very, very grateful for that. So we are going to move through, let's see. Wagstaff Joshua says you can don't show symptoms. I know that as well. Don't show symptoms for 2 weeks. So let's see. So this is not going to be a coronavirus talk, just for everyone who's there. This is going to be a more of a how I like to think about this time kind of talk. I'm aware of all of the studies. I actually told my entire family to go get stuff like 2.5 weeks ago. So I'm very aware of all of what they say. Hopefully it's not what we think, because with Wendy being pregnant, that's been a big worry of mine. I don't know what it's going to do with if she ever caught it. So that's, something to be aware of. But everything that's been coming out of, all of the research says that it doesn't really affect pregnant women much. So that's a good thing. But so we're in our kind of thank you section. So really though, anyone who is supporting POWLAX and supporting me, realize that I'm very, very grateful for that, especially through this time. No POWLAX mesh in the future. Don't know about underrated player, best rookie, don't care. Most underrated and overrated player. Doesn't matter to me. I like the game for the game. I don't care about rating players. I don't care about, like, the draft was kind of cool. I thought it was, watching God, whoever went number one hit like corner after corner after corner was Zach Currier. That dude's a beast. He's awesome. But don't really care about any of those rankings. So we are going to get into the whole reason why we're doing the live stream. I was very much so debating not doing a live stream, actually. But then for anyone who has never been a part of this, I started the live stream for one simple reason, and the reason was so that I could try to articulate ideas that I have in a way, basically just to talk through any ideas I'm thinking about. It doesn't necessarily have to be about lacrosse. For the most part, at the beginning, it wasn't about lacrosse. It was about more so coaching ideas that you can implement through lacrosse. But as we are, I think today is going to be a very much so an interesting day to talk through things because I haven't had the time to think through my thoughts completely. And so I'll probably ramble. And I watched, so kind of a cool thing. If you sign up through Redbox, you get a free rental on your birthday. And because we recently had Turner, like Wendy and I used to go to the movies all the time. Oh, we're bored on a night. Let's just go to the movies. Clearly that can't happen with a child. But so with that, we got a free rental yesterday for my birthday, which was awesome. And we got Jumanji 2, which we'd been wanting to see. And one of the funny kind of jokes within it is that I think it's Danny Glover's character. He's the one who is talking to animals. And if you haven't seen it, sorry, spoiler alert. And as he is talking to animals, he always takes the long way around when he's trying to explain what things are. So he is Kevin Hart's character in this episode. But so I will most likely do that as we go through this live stream. So a couple other things just to keep things regular like they have been. If you're looking for lacrosse balls, get Pro Lacrosse balls. Use code POWLAX for 10% off. Also, if you want a flip goalie, those are great. Great because you can basically shoot and avoid a target instead of trying to hit a target. I really like the idea of trying to shoot the pipes. That's definitely my main use for them. And then a new one, not a super new one, but I figured I would definitely incorporate this. So I want to say it came out yesterday, but I've divided up the So Your Kid Wants to Play Lacrosse video into multiple other videos. And the reason I did that was because when you see a 22-minute video or whatever, a lot of people click away. So there are a lot of little portions of that video that I feel are pertinent, so I divided it up. And the one that went out yesterday was the recommendations for beginner sticks. And I also got a call from Ryan Powell yesterday, and basically they have their beginner stick up now, and it is $65, not $69. So on Amazon right now, you can order that. And if you do order it, head to the beginner stick video and use the Amazon link, and you can support this channel while you get a new beginner stick. They're really great. They are my best of choice for the money, and that is what it is. Okay. So now, obviously, the thing that's on everyone's mind is the whole crisis that we are having right now. And I have a lot of thoughts on it, and we're going to slowly kind of go through. I don't really have an order. I have a slight thing that I kind of bullet points that I want to get to. But the first thing I want to do is I want to shout out to some people because they are living what we're going to be talking about. The title of this is obviously Don't Be Bored, and we'll get to kind of where that comes from. I kind of alluded to it earlier. But I want to shout out Bryce Queener, Hayden, who is a young lacrosse player who just shaved his head for St. Baldrick's. Very awesome kid. Tyler Clark, and then Gavin King, and then Austin Main. And so I want to say it's Gavin. Someone mentioned his name as Gavin because I put his story on it. But so here are the reasons why I want to shout them out. Obviously, this is a time of chaos for a lot of people because they can't do their usual routine, and routine is such an important factor. If I have one piece of advice for anyone throughout this time, it's do not get rid of your routine. Even if you had to go to school and now you can't leave your house or whatever it is, make sure that you wake up on the same exact time every day, and make sure you go to sleep around the same time every day. Don't eliminate your routine simply because now you have this time off or whatever it would be. Make sure you maintain the schedule and find things to do. And so the reason I think that's so important is because even though this is a time of, I mean, it's very chaotic. People don't know what's going to happen, what's going to come, but your ability to maintain a regulated schedule will help your internal, your circadian rhythms and your mechanisms, and it won't be as emotional as you go through it. But so back to our shout outs. So finding something to do is the basic purpose of this video, and I don't really have too many ideas for other people. I'm going to let you know what I'm doing, but the first one I want to do is Bryce Queener. He is the head coach of the Denver women's lacrosse program and a avid 3x player, which I need to get down to play on Thursdays. I wonder if it'll still go on this weekend. I hope it does. That'd be pretty cool if it did. But Bryce has been doing wall ball videos and dodging videos on Facebook and I believe on Instagram, and it's very cool to see him doing this because in this time of a lot of people don't do anything because they just don't really know what to do. And he, with this extra time, took the initiative to make videos. And I think that's a very cool thing because obviously I make lacrosse videos. And I would encourage anyone to try to make videos. The next person who I really want to shout out is Nick Lewis. He had a post the other day. So Nick Lewis is the coach of, I'm going to get the name wrong, Mountain Range. I believe it's Mountain Range. That might be Ethan's team. Not sure of exactly which one it is. They're a Carolina Blue team, so we played them in our scrimmage. But he had a post the other day, and he, I believe, is on a live stream right now where he is meditating. And he did a post earlier this week, and he said, "What if I took imperfect action? What if it's not good enough? What if I don't look like a guru, a meditation teacher? Yeah, but I don't sit on a pillow when I meditate. My legs are too thick. My house is old. I might look like a fraud, an amateur." And I replied to him because the very first thing that he said was, "What if I took imperfect action?" And everyone should, well, not everyone should, but that's the only action that exists is imperfect action. You're never going to do something perfect. And I think so many people hesitate to do new things or to try new things because they think they're not going to do it correctly. And that's bogus. It's the dance principle. It's what I've been calling it, is just because you think you can't dance like the people on TV doesn't mean you shouldn't dance. Like, dancing is a fun thing. Dancing is something that should be, you should just enjoy it as you do it. It's like wall ball. Like, I get that wall ball is something that you're trying to improve something with, but it's also just fun to do, right? Having a catch with someone, that's just fun to do. And for all of the parents who have kids who are, 5, 6 and older, I'm envious because Turner's 1. And so there's not, like, we can play with like a soccer ball and we can kind of push it this way and he can carry the stick around and yada, yada. But, man, if he was like 5 or 6 and our new one was 4 or 5, I'm so envious of the people who have the opportunity to go play with their kids in the yard and don't. That's just dumb to me. Like, get out there and play with your kids. But so the whole dance principle is the idea of you don't have to be good at something to do it, to enjoy it. Like, I think that's been kind of lost on our culture. And it was very encouraging to see Nick post this thing where he basically said, even though all my thoughts are saying that I might be inadequate in the eyes of other people for doing this, I'm still going to do it. And I admire that in him because that is an aspect of myself that I can sometimes lose, but want to make sure to hold on to. So I wanted to acknowledge him because I think he hit a good point there. The next one is Hayden. And I'm not sure what Hayden's last name is, but he is a young lacrosse player. I believe he lives out east. But so he plays for Team 11, and he posts lacrosse posts every day. And so just want to kind of shout him out. The next one is Tyler Clark from Utah. He's with the Wasatch program. And so I've been doing these trick videos, which we'll get to in a minute, but he did one of the tricks. He tried to master one of the tricks, and he did it, and he posted it, and I got to repost it, which I thought was very cool. Same thing for Gavin King. I want to say it's Gavin because Yeah, someone posted it. And then the other one I want to shout out, which is kind of an odd one, is Austin, Maine. So Austin was a goalie for Goucher when I was at Goucher, and he was a very interesting kid. More heavyset kid. Didn't seem to be very fast. But so one of the things that we had to do for Goucher was we had to run a 6-minute mile. And for me, if we didn't get the 6-minute mile, we would have to go to like 5 a.m. new practices every morning. And as we ran it as a team, Austin had a what do you call it? He had a test or something that he had to do. And when we ran it as a team, I came in at 5:59. I remember that final turn and just like putting all I had into it just for the sake of not having to wake up at 5 a.m. to go do running training. And the thing that was very interesting about Austin was that he said that he never would have been able to complete the 6-minute mile, which he did complete, but when he ran it by himself, he said that he never would have been able to finish the 6-minute mile if he had to run with everyone else. And that was very interesting to me because for the majority of my life, I have always had people to essentially visualize and attach myself to, and they would raise and lift me up, right? And to be clear, I'm talking about my brothers. There was always a North Star that had manifested in front of me that I had the ability to look at. And sometimes, what they really taught me was how to strive. It wasn't necessarily to do what they did, even though at certain times it confused me and I thought I should do what they did because what they did was working. But what I needed to find was what I needed to do, which I have now found and really enjoy doing. But so I think there are a few things that are very important in these times, and so we're going to kind of pause on those moments. Well, those are just people who I wanted to shout out, and we're kind of going to reroute into kind of some more of the things I've been feeling since all of this has happened and go through kind of what my mind likes to do when I have time to pause and think about all of these things. So the first thing I will say is that having the season being canceled was tough. There are so many videos that I've wanted to do that I felt I could not do until I actively tried to put things in. So I'm very lucky. I'm very excited that I had the opportunity to have practice for so long because we got to put in a lot of the stuff that I wanted to put in, and there were many things that I was like, oh, this is why they do it. It's not only some other thought. Like there were many things that I, take the 2-3-2 clear, right? One of the reasons why you run that clear is that it subs your players faster, as well as it's a good clear that opens up the field, which I thought was very cool, but wouldn't have known that until we're actively doing it, and I'm realizing, okay, but now you can sub that second midfielder through the midline, and so there were some things that I could do. But so now that there's no season, I don't get to see those things played out, and that's a real bummer because we were running an offense that was 100% new to me. I'd never seen anyone run it. I'd never seen anyone run anything like it, and that's not to say it was good. I mean, it worked in practice. It was something that made things very easy to read and also allowed players to thrive in positions where they were good at what they did, but it wasn't something where it was kind of more scripted. Like, so I saw a post, actually a post was sent to me about Culver Academy doing a video on their offense that turned out 16 goals per game in the last 3 years, right? And they had a drawing of it, and it was essentially an up pick for a lefty alley dodge, and then a sneak at X, and then it was a backside exchange with the back two, with the ones on the left wing and the crease, and then there was another player up top who, it was a cycle on the back, and then it was a player up top who kind of cut down. And within the confines of that offense, I could definitely see putting specific players in specific spots that allowed them to do what they did best. but it seemed very scripted. Like clearly they're going to have to read the pick. They're going to have to read the backside players if they can sneak. They're going to have to make all these reads that are built into the offense. But it's also a very play-based idea, right? And so at a level, that's what you want out of your coaching. You want to put players in the best positions for those players so that ultimately you win the game. And I think at a level that can also be detrimental because you see that in young programs and players never have the ability to learn where they could thrive versus being pigeonholed into certain places. And you see that all the time in youth sports because kids get pigeonholed all the time. So that was just another thought. I was bummed that I didn't get to kind of see what we were creating put into place. We did get to scrimmage 3 times, and man, when like our first scrimmage game, the looks were there, everything was there. It was awesome to see, and so we'll probably use some of that video to do that. So big shout out to Mr. Gibbs. He filmed that, so I think it's a very cool thing about the CT parents is they've always been very, very willing to sacrifice their ability to watch the game, to film, and to do other things. And I'm very grateful for them for doing that because for the most part, we should have managers that do it or, hurt players that do it. But many times it's just kind of walk over to the sideline and have a parent do it. So definitely grateful for them for doing that. So, next thing that I kind of want to allude to in this time is angst. So it is so easy to allow yourself to be pulled into an awful time, if that makes sense. So, what's up, Gavin? Gavin's on this. His mom, Christina, also put 100 on the thing, and I got a thing. He's one of the ones who's been trying the daily tricks, which we'll be having another one here soon. But so what's up, Gavin? Keep trying your trick. One tip I have for you on the flip through is break your wrist. Not really break your wrist, but let your wrist flow like this, and then it will flip through more naturally, and it'll look cleaner. Okay, so let's see. So the reason that I mentioned angst is that if I have any advice for most adults, it's get off Twitter. Stop going on to Twitter. Like, keep an ear on what's going on, but get off. Like, get off Twitter. Once you have a general idea of what you need to do in your own space, you should then understand what you need to do and then do your own thing instead of, like, the tit for tat stuff is coming from people who I figured it would never come from. And if you allow yourself to watch and judge every moment of everyone else's lives, you're just going to be miserable. And that's what I see. I see these people that I look up to, and they are going tit for tat and whining about these things that they have no control over. And it's like, where is what you taught the kids? Where is what you were teaching people about, E plus R equals O, event plus your response equals outcome. The only thing you have to do, the only thing you can control is how you respond to the event. You can't control what events happen to you, but you can control how you react. And these people are on these social, and if you get into it, which clearly I've seen enough of it that it's bothered me enough, but it doesn't bother me when I look and I see people making decisions that I wouldn't make because I realize I'm not in their world. I'm not where they are at this point in time. And these people are just people I look up to are making these decisions where they're just allowing all of this stuff to, it seems like, destroy any semblance of peace that they have in their lives. And I get how that can happen, but I know for a fact that these people are not, they're not people who aren't questioning where their next meal is going to come from. And so from that element, I realize that they are allowing this to consume them and they're acting foolish when they could be leading people if they wanted to do it correctly. Not correctly, but let's see. So, got a couple more little comments here. Zombie Dies says, take some time and invest in yourself. That is basically the thesis of this live stream, which I fully and 100% agree with. And so once I was bummed about not being able to see the coaching creations take place in a high school lacrosse setting, I immediately switched my focus to what I could do. And at a level, I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to have a bunch of time to be able to, spend on getting videos done and things of that nature. But the thing that immediately kind of took over that part was the fact that having Turner is like, if you ever seen the movie, what's it called? If you ever seen the movie Incredibles with Jack and he turns into a fire demon, that's what it's like having a toddler in your house cooped up all day. And he really is like a little fire demon. And it is frustrating at times because for parents, you know this. For people who aren't parents, you have no idea, because I definitely had no idea. It can be frustrating to be the parent who is dealing with a child that is screaming because you know all eyes are on you and you kind of feel that judgment hitting you. It's just like being in a Target. It's just like being anywhere else, but you're in your house. And so there's that judgment that's there. And then there's also the judgment of, okay, if, Wendy's sleeping and he's throwing a temper tantrum, I've got to handle that situation so that he doesn't wake her up, because then, you got two people who are not having a good time in the house. But so there's definitely the first level of that frustration hits. And the thing that I've really had to reorient my mind to has been to be very grateful for the time that I get to spend with family. And so I haven't been working 100% like all that I possibly can, because, Wendy being an esthetician, like, she's home now. And so we're kind of on a little lockdown state, and it's not the work that I need to do to get out the next video is not as important as maintaining a mental stability within our house, if that makes sense. But so it has taken me a while to make sure that I am putting my mind in the right perspective to make sure that I'm ready for the day and ready to be supportive of my son and my wife, and to just make sure that I'm mentally capable of doing that. And so I'm going to kind of walk through a story that's going to allude to the title of this video. And then I'm going to get into some possible recommendations, and they're not even recommendations. The recommendation is to find something that you would like to try to do and just go do it, because now you have the time, or hopefully you have the time. And as much as it's hard to get your mind off of the fact that you feel like you're losing out on time to work, if there's anything you've ever wanted to try to do, now's the time to do it. And I need to make sure that I'm doing the same. So in college, I was clearly naive, as every college person is. I had no idea about a lot of things, and I understand that and I know that. And one of the things I feel that is most telling, that will really, one of the biggest pieces of, not advice, of evidence, one of the biggest pieces of evidence that I have found that makes me understand how naive I was then, was watching movies over again or reading books over again, because different things jump out at you. And so that's my first piece of advice for something you could do. If you can read a book that you knew about then, or that you've read before in a different time in your life, reread that book and it will be different for you. Different things will pop out. Different things will make themselves available to you because your mind is in a different frame of reference. And one of the things that I have always kind of gone back to is this movie Waking Life. And Waking Life is a movie by Richard Linklater, who also did Dazed and Confused. He also did A Scanner Darkly, and it is I forget what the type of art is called, but it's basically drawings over live video. And Waking Life is basically a progression of interactions of people where one person is just talking. It's just conversation, but they're talking about all these really cool ideas. And I'll give you the very first one. The very first one is a guy who drives a boat, but the boat is a car. And he's getting a ride with this guy, and he's like, basically, whatever we see in the world is what we get to interpret. So the guy made a car, and now as he is looking at the world, he feels like he's, in a boat. But so it's basically, the first part is like your perception will determine your reality, which is essentially the same thing I'm trying to convey through the idea that when I watched this in college, I had very different thoughts on it than I did when I watched it, 2-3 years ago. But so one of the scenes within this Waking Life movie is the main character, who is the young kid in Dazed and Confused. He's walking by a train, and this hobo jumps out off of the train, and he's like, "Hey, are you a dreamer?" And he's like, "I guess I am." And he ends up basically saying that our world is in turmoil, and that, let me look this up, this quote, I don't want to mess the quote up, but he says, "So whatever you do, don't be bored. This is absolutely the most exciting time we could have possibly hoped to be alive, and things are just starting." And it's so unbelievably true, but you have to orient your mind to see it. Like, there's opportunity in every struggle, everything that kind of makes you feel, trapped. Like, there's always an opportunity to go better yourself and to go do something new. And that's the thing that, so right when I was very kind of like, there's no way we're going to get our season in, even though I'd been alluding to it for weeks, was I'm doing this daily wall ball and daily tricks. And then I'd like to get a new drill video out at least once per week. And the thing I'm noticing with the daily wall ball and the daily tricks is that, one, it takes a lot longer to do than I had originally anticipated, but I'm not going to stop doing it because so I'd say it takes me about an hour, which isn't a ton of time, but when you're doing it every day, it can seem cumbersome. But so the daily posts for me are relatively easy, but creating new content every day is definitely tough. And, hopefully this thing won't last too long, because I don't have that many tricks. Like, I can do combos and stuff, but man, that's going to be a lot of different tricks that I'm going to have to do. But so I think that the interpretation of don't be bored, and really just that this is absolutely the most exciting time we could have possibly hoped to be alive, and things are just starting. Like, I love that. So Gary Vee talks about not being old and having a conceptualization of time that's real. So for me, I turned 33 yesterday. Hopefully I will have 2 more lifetimes that I've already lived to continue to build and get to 99, right? And with modern medicine, and hopefully no more of these pandemics and whatnot, I will be able to live 2 more lifetimes. I mean, POWLAX started 10 years ago. Well, technically before that, but I mean, the video started like 5 years ago. Not even. I don't even think it's been even that long. And to see what you can create in that amount of time is unbelievable. And like, it's funny because as this whole thing has happened and we're locked in our houses, one thing I've been feeling is very impatient. And I have to remind myself over and over again that there's plenty of time to continue building what I would like to build, and to really stop and be present with my son and with my wife. And, in those moments where I feel angst because I would like to be, progressing in my career. Like, it's funny. One of the things that I find to be interesting about what I do is, if you know of the Macklemore, so he's a R&B artist, you've heard him. Thrift Shop is the song that you probably know, but he has this song called Ego, and he talks about not going to the front of other performers' concerts because they have what he wants. So essentially it's a jealousy thing where, instead of, as I'm watching all of these people who now have the time to create video, part of me goes, oh man, I got to keep creating so that people don't, fall off and not enjoy what I'm doing. And then I have to really maintain and like pull my brain out of that negative thinking, and then encourage the people who are starting to build what they want to build, because that bit of negativity towards what others create is just, it's a virus. It's awful. And I think it's so important to encourage other people to build the things that they would like to build. It's definitely something that, as people have embraced what I have created, has been such a blessing. Like, it's funny. I thought that the whole wall ball thing would do a lot better on TikTok because, I mean, but it's young kids. They don't want to work. They don't want to do things, but hopefully the fun things of the wall ball routines will help them. But what I've realized is that it's not about the ones that don't do it. It's about the ones that do. And so people like Gavin and people like Tyler and people who, not only are willing to try it, because a ton of kids are probably trying it, but who are willing to then video themselves trying something, failing, and then getting it right, is one of the coolest things to see. And so I think that the ability to really encourage that is something that can be hard to do unless you really focus on making sure that you are doing it. You have to have intent, right? You have to have intent to not feel as if you are missing out. And so let's see. The last thing, and I think we're kind of going to end on this, that I wanted to advise everybody, not advise, but hey, this is here for you if you want it. If I had any recommendations, so I'm in this weird bubble here because, I coach lacrosse and I've been working at it for, 12 years, and I have the ability, because of people who enjoy the content that I create, to, watch my son and listen to certain things. And one of the people who has really helped me maintain a positive mindset, even though I can't control it all of the time, is Jordan Peterson. And one of the things that really helped me that he created is it's called the Future Authoring Program, as well as the Past Authoring Program. But so basically, I would recommend, if you have a bunch of time and you really want to help orient your mind, I would highly, highly, highly recommend doing the Future Authoring Program from Jordan Peterson. Essentially, I want to say it's at futureauthoring.com. This is in no way a paid thing. This is me. I did it like 5 years ago, and it was one of the reasons why I took the jump that I did to create a business based on lacrosse. But so the Future Authoring Program is essentially a bunch of questions that you have to write out. And if you are going to do it badly, right? Like, it doesn't matter that you don't have to do it well. And the idea is essentially to solidify a future for yourself. And it includes friends, it includes family, it includes what you would like to see happen. And if you've ever heard of The Secret, it is the inline yet antithesis of that. Because The Secret, the thing that works about The Secret is, and it's not that it's just going to happen for you, but the idea is that you have a North Star. You have something to think on. You have something that is driving you forward, something to see, something to strive towards. And that's what the Future Authoring Program does. It asks you, what do you want to have within your friends' relationships? So it gives you a thought process of how you'd like to be with your friends, also with your family, also with your job, also with whatever you'd like to attain. And so one of the cool things about this Future Authoring Program is that it helped curb dropouts of college by like 30% where they've done it. And I think that's so cool because it really does, like, for me, what it did for me was it really oriented exactly what I wanted to try to create, so that each day I woke up with a mission ready to go. And that's something that I feel is going to be very difficult for a lot of people in this time, because they've been taken out of their usual routine, their usual job, their usual thing. And this all kind of pulls together in a sense to say, even if it's not future authoring or past authoring that you do, I recommend watching any of his classes, or watching if you're a religious person, watch his biblical lectures, because the things that he teaches on and the principles that he kind of navigates through are something that I very much so that I aspire to be like. It's why I'm doing this whole podcast thing in the beginning, is so that I can articulate my ideas and I can see where I can improve on, and I can just continue to practice this articulation, but so his ability to navigate through ideas that have essentially spread through, all of human existence is a very cool thing. And it's definitely something that has helped me maintain positivity through tough times and definitely through things now. Like, I find myself thinking through the positive terms and ideas that he has said. So I really enjoy that. I think that it can be something that other people would really enjoy doing as well. So I definitely recommend watching Jordan Peterson's classes and doing the future authoring program if you have time. It's something that has really benefited me and a bunch of other people. And so it's just, it's one thing that, I could do it again, who knows? But it was definitely cool to really, have a vision pinpointed. And so what I was trying to allude to earlier was that also comes full circle into the idea of go make something, go build something, go do something you've never done before. Go, this is the most incredible time ever. You have the ability to look up anything and learn anything, at the drop of a hat. There is no reason to be bored. And, something that I'll say for a bunch of, it's funny, whenever I play video games now, I feel so guilty because I know I have so much to do. And if you don't feel like you have anything to do, it's simply because you have not tasted enough things. Like, you have to go out and try to do all the, as many different things as you possibly can. And this is a time when, if you have all this extra time, why not go investigate things and see what you think about it? Because another life truth that I've always maintained is that the hardest thing to do is to start. The hardest thing to do is to get there. So I remember in high school, we had a weights program in the summer. We signed me up, but I didn't go. I went to my friend's house and hung out at his house because I didn't like doing that. But on the days that I went and I actually got there, I really enjoyed it. But it was just something where if I didn't actually get, if you don't get to the gym, it's hard to work out. For me, if I don't make a mental note to get downstairs and to do my, 30-minute bike ride each morning, I won't do it. And now I think I'm on day 20 or something of doing it every day. So that's really nice. But so let's see. I'm going to say, I'm thinking that's pretty much it for the day. It's a little shorter than usual, but for real, if there's anything that I would recommend, it's just don't allow yourself to get bored. There's way too much to do. And it doesn't have to be something where you are, trying to change the world, but just, even if it's going out and trying to be a better Frisbee golf player, I think that doesn't violate any rules, at least not in Colorado yet. And, to do something that you've never done before. And I think it's very encouraging to see people like Bryce, like Hayden, like Tyler, like Gavin, like Austin, who are doing things that keep them in a positive mindset instead of allowing the angst of an unknown situation pull them down. Because as much, especially as a coach, as much as we want to tell young players to focus on the positive, when it really, really matters and when it really is testing you, if you can't take a moment, take a breath. Oh, that's another thing. And this alludes to Nick, who I mentioned earlier, who did his first couple meditation videos in the last couple days, is that one of the things that really helped me, I don't meditate anymore, but that is one point in my life when I did learn how to stop and how to essentially find myself in the present moment. That has really helped me a ton in order to reorient my thinking towards positive things. But so I'm a big proponent of watch what people do, not what they say. And I think it's very important that if you are going to be a thought leader or a leader of any kind, you should definitely be mindful of the appearance you are putting out in these negative times. Like, if you are just going to complain and whine about everything, you're not being a good voice, right? If you are going to try to lift up, try to help, try to, encourage people to do things, I think that you have value that you should put out into the world. But man, like, the angst, it can control you. And it's funny, if you listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, he has a couple friends who have always said that, they got into that Twitterverse of, all they were waiting for was a moment someone slipped up so that they could run them through the dirt. And you'll see people who do that. And I don't want to be one of those people. I don't think many people want to be those people. And I think that the most important things to address this and to pull this all together, I guess, in my head is there are two things that you really must do in this time if you are struggling. The first is to orient yourself towards some goal, any goal. And then the second is to act on that, to go try and do it with whatever it is. And so it's funny. So you see TikTok, right? So the kids on TikTok are really, really, they're, I guess every week there will be a new person who's doing some challenge. And so most recently it was this kid with who was golfing, who was chipping a ping pong ball into a basically like a hydro flask. And the kid, and now everybody's doing it, but it's funny because even that action of just finding something to do and then doing it is enough for kids in this moment. Like, they don't have to go try and change the world, but to have a goal, to have something to do, to keep your mind moving forward is so important in these times. I'm going to look back through some of these comments. Let's see. Shane said, and this was very much so earlier, was giving my guys something that they can do every day really helps them keep good routine with their sticks. So that's huge. I've seen a lot of, a lot of people posting, progressions, sticks. I think that's extremely important. I think that, making sure players that can get their sticks in their hands do, my avenue for that has been more so based on the one fur, instead of giving them a whole list of things to do, to really just, say one thing a day. But I agree 100%. Next we have, got it. So, Gavin said he can't wait to do the new tricks. I'm hoping that they will be out around 1 for today, Gavin. And he is talking about the daily trick and the daily wall ball thing. Hopefully I'll be able to keep doing them where I won't double up on them. So hopefully this will be over before all of that happens. Let's see. So, I guess that's going to be it. That's going to wrap us up for the day. Thank you guys all for tuning in, whether you are on YouTube Live now, Facebook Live, Instagram Live, or if you are catching it later on YouTube or on the podcast. Once again, I really do want to give a huge shout out to all of the people who are really supporting me and what I do, and really my family. It really does mean the world to me that you have enjoyed my content enough to support what I do. I'm very grateful for that, especially in these questionable times. Thank you for being supportive. Also, just to make sure I continue to hit my parts, if you need Pearl balls, get them from Guardian Sports, pearllacrosse.com. Also, flip goalies are a good thing. And then the POW Scout dropped on Amazon yesterday, and it is $65, not $69. If you are going to buy one, use the link in the description, and that'll wrap up our live stream for today. So thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you guys next week.